doing the ooh. Hey yo, man, come on. What's up? What's up? You got that, man? Hey, man, I got the cosmos. Hey, man, go ahead, take it to the cosmos.
My name is Rolland James Slade. I am a guide runner for the U.S. Paralympic track and field team, and I run with a visually impaired sprinter named Josiah Jamison. We run the 100, the 200, and the 4x1 relay. Outside of track, I'm definitely a music buff. I like playing drums. I play drums at my church. Also, I'm into Marvel and DC comics. A little bit of a nerd there too. I like cars, fixing up import cars, like movies, and also building Legos.
Building Legos. What's your favorite Lego to build?
I actually just finished this one. It was it's a 911 GT3 RS Porsche that was like this big, and it was a 2,700. That was 3,000 pieces. Took me a couple of days to build, but yeah, it was probably my favorite one to date. Yeah, I really think it kind of picked me. I think God kind of did that. My original plan was to go to school for psychology, run track, and then get my degree. And in the process of doing that, stumbled upon the opportunity to be a guide runner. My coach at the time, Wes Williams at San Marcos, was like, "Hey, there's an opportunity to be a guide runner down at the Olympic Training Center. I want you to check that out. You seem to have the demeanor for it and that sort of thing." And at the time, I never knew anything about guide running. But went down there, long interview process, had me running around and doing a lot of physical tests and that sort of thing. And one thing led to another, and before I knew it, they were calling me back saying, "Hey, we want you to come on board and be a guide." And that was 5 years ago now. And from then on, it just took off from there. And so it allowed me to fulfill a dream, being a part of Team USA in a way that I never thought possible. Some of my toughest injuries, several years ago, I had a hip flexor strain. It was actually kind of a tear, and actually kept me out for about a year. And that was probably one of the hardest ones to come back from, or not, I won't say come back from, but just to deal with, because you're having to stop and slow down. Your body, you can't run. I literally couldn't even lift my knee up, and having to do the whole rehab process for a year, and listening to your trainer telling you, "Okay, you gotta stop running. You can't do anything. You can't lift weights. You can't be out there sprinting." It really puts things in perspective and makes you understand how much of a blessing it is to be able to do the things that you do. And then also I had a adductor strain, and that one was tough. And again, it's the same kind of thing. You're having to stop and realize, whoa, I take this for granted. When you're running, you're not thinking about it, but as soon as it's taken away from you for a brief period of time, you realize how much of a blessing it is to do what you do. So listening to my trainers, listening to coaches, understanding less is more, and actually stopping and letting the body heal was important for me to get back to where I'm at now. So how am I the third, not the third? Well, my dad me and my dad and my grandfather the same first names, but we all had different middle names. So instead of me being Junior or the third, couldn't be James, because it's my grandfather's name also, and so couldn't be Junior. We're not exactly Junior, so this is J. It's confusing as heck, and most people are like, "What is your name anyway?" But yeah, third, not the third, the third. Top 3 genres would definitely have to be 90s R&B, alternative rock, and 70s Motown. And kind of an old soul. I think when I'm working out and training, 70s Motown is actually my go-to genre of choice. I got my Earth, Wind & Fire playlist, my Stevie Wonder, Ohio Players, basically my parents' music. that's definitely my go-to when I'm working out and getting ready for a track meet, for sure. That understands the track and field world and understands the amount of commitment and time that goes into training. And it's not like football or basketball or whatever, where you have a extended off season and you can kind of just go home. Not to say those sports are easy, but track and field is pretty much an all year round thing. I mean, you take a couple weeks off and you're right back at it, and there's weights and running and stretching and your diet and all that kind of stuff. And having somebody, you know, that understands that understands the time it's going to take for you to be away and do things. I mean, she's really understanding of that because she's done it herself, and you know, has competed and has, you know, competed at a high level. So it's a blessing to be in a relationship with somebody that not only has been through it but also supports what I'm doing as well. So I mean, like any relationship, it's got its ups and downs, but I feel tremendously blessed knowing that she supports what I'm doing and understands it, not only just because she's with me, but also as an athlete herself. All right, Marvel versus DC. This is a highly disputed question, and I think, for me, Marvel wins. Because, I mean, yes, you've got Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. You got the whole Justice League for DC. I get that, but that's it. That's where it ends. With Marvel, you have an entire story arc. You've got the Avengers. You've got the Fantastic Four. You've got the X-Men. The Marvel universe is so far-reaching. It totally smashes DC. DC doesn't even come close to that. Now, if you wanna debate, okay, well, who would win between Superman and the Hulk, or who would win between Batman and Iron Man? You can debate that till you're blue in the face. But the fact remains, Marvel kills DC when it comes to universes. It's not even close. There's no question. Marvel. Being a PK is, it can be tough. You know, you're expected to be perfect growing up, even though you're not perfect. So I think it taught me patience and understanding. So I would say it's something that made me who I am today. It was difficult, but I got through it. Typical training day for me is, we'll probably start out early in the morning with the weight room type thing, where we're doing some lightweight, just getting your body moving, some band work, and then from there we'll go to the track, do some interval training, maybe running in the grass. Just depends on what the coach has, what he has on the schedule for that day. Then after that is more weight room work, and then followed by cooling down, where we're doing stretching, rehab, prehab type stuff, where you're, you know, rolling out, things like that. Coach-athlete relationship is super important. Me and Coach Tony have a great relationship. I mean, he's essentially like a track dad to me. Not only is he my coach, but also he's another you know, figure in there that mentors and helps you with things outside of you know, track and field. But the relationship that we have is really important, because you've got to trust your coach and believe that, you know, he's got the best program, the best thing set up for you, and he has your success in mind and wants the best things for you. So it's important to have a close relationship where you can trust him. He can speak to you and can speak things to you so that you understand. But our relationship is like this. Coach Tony's a man.
But we have a great relationship. I mean, you know, I've had a different relationship with a lot of different athletes, and some of them are strictly track, some of them are strictly mentorship, like yourself, kind of, and on the track. But there have been some athletes that, you know, I just keep it professional. I just see them at the track, and we have no outside contact. We don't talk about life or anything like that. But Jay's not one of those. I mean, we have a relationship that goes beyond track and field. We could talk about politics, we could talk about music, we could talk about all sorts of things. And we actually, the group I have with Prodigy Coaching, we have some outside of the track events that we go to, and, you know, whether it's fun stuff for ourselves, or sometimes we do some charity stuff. So we spend a lot of time outside, but all that makes a stronger bond between a coach and an athlete. But then it also makes, you know, a well-rounded athlete, because I want to show that track and field is a passion and it's a way of life, but it also sets you up for having a stronger and more meaningful life beyond track and field. So, you know, that's the one thing I'm trying to teach these guys, and I think Jay's one of my best pupils.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys, don't go ahead and hug it out.